Welcome back, everybody, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Lorenzo Pond sitting here with...
Kevin Howard.
How you doing, my man?
Doing well.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, Lorenzo and I just had a nice, long green room conversation about past, present, and future. These aren't the nerds you're looking for, and it was a lot of fun. So
a lot of stuff, yeah.
Hopefully we'll be able to execute some of the stuff further down the line, and I think we'll enjoy it. Hope you guys will too.
For sure. But as for this week, we're still deep in Clone Wars territory. We are on Season 4, Episode 2, Gungan Attack. Yeah?
Yep. This is 72nd episode or adventure of the Clone Wars that we're covering. Original release was September 16th of 2011, written by Jose Molina and directed by Brian Callen O'Connell.
Yep. That's what I got.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Production
Fortune
is
cookie.
3/23, so as far as production goes, this is still Season 3, but released in Season 4, so whatever. However you want to distinguish that.
Yeah, second part of a 1 hour premiere when the Season 4 started on September 16th.
Yep.
Fortune cookie for this one, only through fire is a strong sword forged.
Who you got?
I'm throwing this one at Dooku.
Okay.
Or someone in that realm.
I had absolutely nobody, so I'm fine with Dooku. This one feels more of, I don't like Gandalf the Grey, but we're sticking to Star Wars characters here, so I'm cool with Dooku.
But yeah, definitely somebody on the Sith side of things, like Dooku, Maul, Savage.
See, I don't even maybe I would give it to Savage, but not Maul. Like Maul's my dude, and this doesn't. To me, it doesn't seem like him, but I'm cool with Dooku.
Okay, yeah, we'll stick with Dooku. With that one. Sounds good. Newsreel for this episode is literally just a recap of the previous episode, Water War.
Yep.
That introduces all of our characters again. I honestly don't understand why this exists if it was part of a 1 hour premiere, but sure.
I mean, I guess it's nice that they're divided into episodes, and personally, it's been a little bit since I've seen Water War, so being able to see this little rehash of whatever happened last week was helpful for me. Okay.
Would you be okay if the show had special 45-minute episodes?
I don't know. Because Resistance did this, right, with their first episode.
Yes.
45-minute episode, but it depending on where you're getting your information, it was one episode, it was 2 episodes, not really clear, you know what I mean?
Right.
I guess I do like that, with these dual episodes that the Clone Wars does, they're straight, hey, this is 2 episodes. They're just airing back to back.
Okay. Yeah.
So if it's gonna be 2, do it this way. If you're gonna say, hey, this is 1 45-minute episode, consider it 1 episode and move on.
Yeah, call it that. Yeah, and I agree with you completely, especially regarding the way Resistance got muddled up there between trying to call that premiere 2 episodes. I agree with you.
It was 1.
Yeah, I agree with you for sure. And we had our own debates on that for Resistance.
Right. You either do it or you don't.
Yeah.
If you want to do a 45-minute episode, great.
Yeah. There was 1 set of credits at the end. That's 1 episode to me.
Exactly.
So I agree with you there. That said, moving on, we basically start right back up where the previous episode ended, right?
Yeah, okay. I have one more thing to say about this.
I'll go for it. Yeah.
Either 2 episodes or 1 episode thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's a single episode, it's going to have one beginning, one middle, one end.
Yeah.
Not
a beginning, a middle, end, beginning, middle, end.
Right. And to go back to Resistance, the Recruit, which was the first episode there, that was one long episode. There wasn't like two stories that went on there.
Yeah.
It was like one thing, right?
Yes, definitely.
Which is definitely why it confused me that some sources were breaking it down into two different parts. Part one, part two. Because it wasn't. It was one story that happened. You know,
I agree with you.
Episodically with television and beyond, you have a story that happens. You know, sometimes there's a cliffhanger, sometimes it's to be continued. However, you know, whatever the structure is there, but if you got a 22-minute thing and another 22-minute thing, that's a big difference between one 45-minute thing.
Yeah. Like there's one single arc that continued and rose throughout that episode.
Yep.
Versus the way we broke up the Clone Wars movie, because you could literally tell kind of where the ebbs and flows of each mini arc was occurring in that movie.
Correct.
Whereas Resistance, we didn't have that clear delineation of like, oh, this is where this arc gets wrapped up and then we start a new one.
Yeah, I don't know that I would have been able to effectively like cut that one in two.
Right. Absolutely. So, yeah, very good point there for sure. Yeah, Resistance, one episode for sure. Anybody else can fight me. That's fine. It's one solid episode. So what do we got? We got our heroes are still underwater. That's Anakin. That's Padme, Ahsoka, Kit Fisto, Akbar, Lee Char.
Yep,
they're
who is
all
still Prince at this point.
Prince
I think
Lee Char.
I think we start this one with a hollow Skype call between Dooku and Tamsin, Mr. Shark guy. And Dooku is saying, I don't know, they're talking about prisoners, right? We got some POWs here, and there is a Quarren, I guess the leader of the Quarren, I don't know what his name is. Did you catch his name?
No.
I don't think.
Not at all.
I don't even know if it's stated. But essentially Dooku says, you know, everyone's prisoners, and then we get a kind of call back to Anakin's attack of the Tusken Raiders, where the Quarren is like, well, surely not the women and the children, and Dooku's like, no, definitely the women and the children also.
Yeah, I like this little moment with the Quarren though, because like he has that complete self-reflection moment where he's like, are we the bad guys? Like,
oh
yes.
Shit. We teamed up with the Separatists, and now we're putting women and children into an internment camp
and forcing them into slave labor.
Where did I make a wrong decision here?
I think we might be the bad guys.
So the other thing of note of this conversation is that Dooku tells Sharkman that he's gonna send like reserve fighters, but what he wants Tamsin to do is not use them initially. And he's like, no, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send you some reinforcements, but just hold on them. Like, wait and see what the Jedi are doing.
Yeah.
Let them do their shit, and then after the fact, you can throw them into the mix. Does this make sense as far as, like, is this how wars are actually fought?
I don't understand this at all. I don't know if this is how wars are fought. If it is, it sounds like a... I understand having, like, standby and reserves, perhaps.
But do you send them into, essentially, the battlefield and tell them to just sit and wait?
Yeah, that part I don't understand. That unless there's like an actual strategic plan of attack, just the idea of like ready but don't do anything. Yeah, I got nothing for you on this one. I had a weird moment with this too, where I was just like, sure. I don't know why. Like, where's this going even, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's bizarre.
It's a weird little bit of setup that yeah.
So from there, we found out that Dooku is sending some people just to wait, I guess.
Right.
And then we cut over to Anakin, Padme, Kit Fisto, beyond, right? And Kit Fisto is on his holocall with Yoda and Mace Windu. Fisto basically says, hey, we lost contact with all of the clones and all of the Mon Cala fighters because at the end of last episode they had to go into hiding in like a cave. Is that right? So he's trying to ask, are reinforcements coming? But then there's, Skype breaks up, which happens sometimes. They got a bad connection, so Yoda and Mace drop off. So they're kind of left in limbo. They don't know exactly what's going on. Anakin basically suggests, like, hey, what we got to do is we got to get back up to our ship. Like, we need to get the fuck out of the water. We need to get up to our ship. And because Mr. Shark Guy can't attack us when we're not in the water. It's proposed essentially that Prince Lee Chard needs to make the decision. And at first he's like, he pulls the Padme thing. And he's like, I'm going to be with my people. That's where I need to be. And then somebody says something. And he's like, all right, fuck it. Let's go. So then their plan is to head to the surface and try to utilize what they perceive as their best opportunity to get above surface, back onto the ship, and escape for reinforcements or
something like that. Or at least just inform more so. Like, they get the word out to Yoda. Is
this like climb a tree to get a better cell signal? Is this what's going on here?
Because
it doesn't seem like they're
escape.
Okay.
They are planning escape. Because that's part of the weird decision making that happens where Lee Char is, like as you said, he wants to stay, but then everybody else is like, well, I mean, to advise you, we would say that you're of no help if you're dead and nobody else knows you're dead. Like...
Yeah, he's like, my place is with my people. And then Ahsoka or somebody is like, yeah, but you're not even with your people. Like, we're hiding right now. We need to get to a place where you can actually fucking do something. And he's like, oh, well, in that case, let's go.
Cool. And they swim away. Yeah, it really does happen as easily as that, which is bizarre for sure. I'm gonna set this up now. I'm gonna say this now, and then we'll kind of keep revisiting this theme for this episode.
Sure.
There's a lot of skipping steps per se, or accelerating story points, or both, or all of it. That I'm going to call it out now, and then I'll kind of point out other parts of the story where I get confused, because I'm gonna just preface this episode. I'm gonna need your help.
Okay.
I'm gonna have a few questions in this one.
That's what I'm here for, Lorenzo.
So Lee Char, like you said, just goes, why, yes, that sounds like a good idea. Let's head on up to the surface. We do get a little bit of resistance from, there's another Mon Cala lady with them.
Yeah, that is Senator Mina Tills.
Yes. So Mina here
is the fish with the breast.
Yeah, she's the naysayer of the group. She's like, well, how do you know it's still there? And they're like, well, we can either go check or we can stay in this cave.
Right. What's it gonna do if we won't know if we stay?
Right. And what's your alternate
find out?
Or what's your alternate stance for staying here? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they head on up to the surface. Right. Yeah. And then
yeah, we do cut over to Coruscant, and then we have like a Super Jedi group call, which is weird because there's more Jedi Masters than speaking roles at this point. Like in the flesh, we have Mace Windu, Yoda, and Adigalia, who just kind of walks by, and then I don't even know if we see her again. Through Hollow, we have Obi-Wan, Luminaro and Dali, Saesee Tiin, and Plo Koon. Mace Windu basically says, "Hey, it's going to take several days for us to outfit some clone troopers for underwater use." This kind of surprised me because I guess I always felt like there was just different platoons worth of troopers that were like trained for certain situations. Like in the
I thought the same.
Yeah, in the OT we've got like sand troopers, we've got snow troopers, we've got scout troopers, we got, and I guess I just kind of figured like there was maybe not legions, but at least like groups, kind of on standby for like certain situations, like already prepared to go. Because
specialty groups, right?
How hard would it be for Captain Rex to be trained in all fucking environments?
Right.
But then he also has to wait like a couple of days to get like, I guess, different gear
and even weaponry for different environments, right?
Right.
No, I had the same thought you did. So I always my line of thinking was the same as yours in terms of that. I always saw sand troopers as being specialty trained in that arena. Mm-hmm. Snow troopers trained in that arena.
Right. Like there's enough planets with enough different environments that you would think that there was always a need for troopers that were ready for an aquatic environment.
Completely.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't disagree with you on this strange little statement that they're creating a problem. They're creating a plot problem, essentially, is all they're doing from a script standpoint.
Right, and it's unnecessary. But I will say that Yoda is basically like, okay, well, we can't rely on our guys. Let's find some other people, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Saesee Tiin says something, maybe Plo Koon does as well. And then Obi-Wan is like, the Gungans? So the decision is to essentially contact the Gungans because they have a grand army, right?
Yep. And they're aquatic in nature.
They are aquatic or minimum amphibious or whatever. So that's...
And the planet is close enough that they can help. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because that was the other concern. Like, other planets were farther away.
That's a very good point. Mm. Which also makes me question how long fucking hyperspace takes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's instantaneous, and sometimes it seems to take a little bit of time. So,
like, there's a road trip involved sort of thing. Like, get your beef jerky and stock up on Gatorade sort of thing.
Right. Beef jerky and mellow yellow, whatever.
Mellow yellow, yep.
A bag
of Takis. Yeah.
At least driving like the next town over.
Right. Some hot Cheetos is always good. I'm a Funyun fan on the road, which is good too. Yeah.
I am definitely a Tabasco beef jerky.
Oh.
And I used to be mellow yellow, and as I get older, I've had to graduate to like Red Bull or something. But
oh wow, yeah. See,
regardless,
I'm a Slim Jim, Funyun, Gatorade combo sort of person. Mm-hmm. So
Slim Jim does have a very, very tasty Tabasco Slim Jim.
Yeah, I like the Slim Jim because it's a distinct spicy taste. So it's a lot easier to bite into than like some beef jerky. You really got to like tear into, and when you're driving, it can kind of be a hassle.
As the late Roddy Piper said, snap into a Slim Jim.
Yep. So moving from there, it's Naboo seems to be the closest. And that's where we got there. Yeah,
so we cut back to Mon Cala at that point. Our our entire group have swum up from the depths, shall we say. And essentially there's a shit ton of aqua droids in the way, right?
Yeah.
So to combat this problem, Kit Fisto is basically like, yo, dude, I got this. Right? I'm gonna swim up there real quick, and I'm gonna do something to help us out. And Anakin says, bring me some mini subs, like that'll totally help. Again, Kit Fisto's like, got this, man. So he does some kind of reconnaissance swimming or secretive swimming, like up to something. I don't know. He's kind of bouncing around from some stuff. Takes out some droids, steals some mini subs, and like uses a super force push to like throw it down to wherever the rest of the people are. And then our group kind of goes in waves up to the surface.
Yep.
At one point, we do cut over to Tamsin in, I guess, his command center. I don't really know. It's not real clear where he's at. I don't think it really matters. He's just kind of swimming around, and he's got, we don't have any underwater tactical droids. We just have like a regular, like all the underwater droids are like just the regular aqua droids, right?
Yep.
Except for the weird jellyfish things.
Yeah. And then we get introduced to something else at some point too.
Okay.
But yeah, because it's Tamsin and then like a few normal droids and then like the other Quarren folk.
Right.
Yeah. And again, all the Quarren are like standing around. They're like, "Are we the bad guys? Are we? This seems really bad." Like the whole time.
Yeah. So Tamsin is essentially informed of what's going on, and he says, to paraphrase him, like, "Well, let them get to their ship. Let them get to the surface, because I want them to see their hopes sink to the bottom of the ocean."
Yeah.
Right? So then we cut back, and what happens is, like, there is some fighting or whatever, but most of the group gets close to the surface, and then Tamsin's like, "Spring the trap." And boom, I guess they had explosives on the ship.
Yep.
Question.
Yeah.
Is there nobody on the ship?
I was also kind of wondering that. I think nobody's on the ship. I think the ship was left there, which makes no sense either.
Like it's just hovering there 30 meters above the water.
Yeah.
So
this is going to be one of those...
Who's going to bring the ship down to pick the fucking people up out of the water?
I got nothing for you here. Like this is sort of a light version of one of those times where the storytelling seems to take a few skips here, and I got confused a little bit too. Like between cutting to Tamsin, getting certain news as quickly as he did after Kit Fisto did his, albeit very cool, like maneuvering and capturing a the pod thing and
the
sending
mini
one
subs.
down.
Yep.
The mini sub and sending one down, and then like Tamsin immediately getting that information and then knowing when to spring the trap. Like
it all happens very, very fast.
Yeah, there's a few skips here that I was taking notes, and I rewound because I thought I missed something, and I guess I did not.
You didn't.
Okay. Yep. So, but I agree with you. Then, as soon as it exploded, my then next question was, how did they rig it, or why did Anakin and crew think that it would still be there? Or
well, they did say we need to
undiscovered?
go check, like, because
Or yeah.
Senator Mina Tills was like, "How do you know your ship's still there?" And they're basically like, "We need to go check.
Yeah.
We don't know from down here. We're either hiding or we're going to be proactive." They tried to be proactive, didn't work. Ship blew up. But
Yes.
I feel like if there was some crew on the ship. I don't know. It's just a weird logistic
Would
thing.
there be a fight? Yeah, like
would there be a fight? How did the shark people get out of the water?
Right. Yeah. Like, who's setting this shit up?
Okay.
The droids, I guess.
Well, there you go. Like, POW is a good point.
Yeah, maybe they're just all POWs, right?
Right. Okay.
And again, we just skipped over all those steps. Like, it just...
Okay.
They're, yeah.
I'm cool with that then. You totally just explained it to me, and I'm all good.
POWs. Moving
Perfect.
on. Yeah, POWs. So, the thing blows up, and then this is when shit goes wrong for our crew, obviously, and then their plan is to grab on to the sinking shit and
because
go down to the bottom of the ocean.
Prince Lichar is like, we're not safe here. We need to get back down to the bottom of the ocean. I think he calls it the seafloor, whatever. Anakin says, okay, well, let's take the express train, like, grab onto some shit that's sinking. 1, we're not going to get hit by it. 2, we don't have to fucking swim. It's going to do the work for us. Mm-hmm. So I say good thinking on his finned feet right now. Yep. And well done on Anakin's part. As they're like hanging on to this debris that is sinking to the bottom of the ocean, Captain Akbar suggests that they need to split up.
Yeah, I don't understand this logic either.
I don't really either, but there's like there's 2 lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
Anakin says, our only hope is for Yoda to send backup, and Akbar is like, no, Prince Lichar is our only hope. And that convinces Anakin that splitting up is a good thing.
I guess. Yeah, that seems to be the way the logic worked in that moment, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not real sure. I didn't really follow that one. And
yeah, because I didn't understand what the danger was in sticking together. Because they're going to hiding anyways. Mm-hmm. They're going back into hiding anyways.
I am right there with you.
Yeah, and like they aren't being tailed. I didn't understand this one. This decision is going to create more confusion for me later. I'm kind of like laying down postmarks.
And this is where like I need to help, right, in the future.
Sort of. Right, like I don't even think it's going to be help. It's just going to be, I want to point out this moment because it's going to create complications for me in the future, right?
Okay.
I think every other time we've talked about episodes, I kind of like let it flow and we talk about things as they come up. But this episode, interestingly, like in hindsight, there are moments that end up creating problems for me later that, looking back, you know.
Okay.
I'd rather just point them out now as we're moving along.
Absolutely, man.
So this decision to split up is weird. So they split up in also sort of weird ways. So it's Ahsoka with Lichar and Kit Fisto, right? Mm-hmm. And then Padme and
Anakin, Senator Mina, and Akbar.
Yeah. Okay, so that's how the teams get split up.
Yes.
Where do each team go?
I don't know. Down.
Right.
They go down.
Now, continuing the discussion of that decision to split up, visually speaking, they're underwater and there isn't a lot of geography around them.
Right.
So anytime there's a wipe or a cut, it takes me about half a second longer than it should for me to recognize who or where I am, like who I'm with or where I am in the story.
Well, because you're wiping from water to water.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And it's always like, it seems to be like wiping from a long shot to another long shot.
Not only that, but I will also point out that for the next third of the episode, it's like cut, couple lines of dialogue, cut, couple lines of dialogue, cut, couple lines. There's a lot of cut going on.
So that goes back to my original point of there are a lot of weird jumping steps and skipping like over things here. So that said,
and it also doesn't
what does
help.
happen next?
Yeah. So it also doesn't help that. So we've decided that we're going to split up our crews, right? We know which crews, which people are with whom, and then we cut from Mon Cala to the
Naboo.
Gungans. Right? We cut to Naboo, also underwater.
Yep.
So we're cutting from one underwater scene to another underwater scene on another planet, and Yoda is talking to the Gungans, right? And there is, man, I wish I would have written his name down. It's a new boss. It's not Boss Nass. Nass. It is Boss.
I didn't get the name.
Leone, Lyonie. Looks just like Jar Jar.
Yeah, I was super confused until he started talking. Super confused.
Is Boss Nass not around anymore?
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Him?
I don't know, because Boss Nass is in Revenge of the Sith. He's there. Like, yeah, I was wondering that too. Where did Boss Nass go?
The only thing I can think of is that, like, maybe he retired from his position. Like, he's not in the authority position anymore, and much as Amidala is no longer queen and it's now Queen Jamila, like, Boss Nass he's not boss anymore. He's just Mister. I don't know.
I got nothing on
maybe
that one. This was another weird little, again, skipped story point that I really needed explained. Like,
I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna pay off in the future.
Sure.
You just don't know it yet.
Sure.
That's
it doesn't help
next
here.
week. But yeah, it doesn't
help.
It doesn't. It makes no sense here. But this episode does have an issue with quick cuts and weird dialogue. And what happens at this point, like, Yoda's like, hey, we need your help. And he explains the situation as, one of your planet people, Amidala, is stuck on this planet, and we need some seafaring individuals to go and help fight this war for us. And Boss Leonie's like, I don't know. Misa need to thinking about this. And then Jar Jar's like, what? You need to think? There's no time to think. Like, Senator Amidala, she would definitely help us. And the guy's like, oh yeah, thinking time is over. We's gonna do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This moment was okay. Beyond my confusion of where Boss Nass was, I think this played as efficiently as could possibly have done in this episode.
I guess I'm just curious, as this is the second time, I think, in this episode where it's like, hey, this is what we should do. And the leader is like, no. And then somebody else says,
like, no, you.
But this thing.
Like, oh, shit.
And the leader goes, oh, yes.
Right.
Like, do we need that? Do we need that, especially multiple times? Like, can't our leaders in this episode just kind of
just make a good call?
Yes. Instead of, I'm going to say no, somebody's going to say something, now I'm going to say yes.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you.
I don't need the flippy floppies, right?
Yeah, I
it's
think
okay for somebody, like, in this instance, Yoda could say his thing. Jar Jar could just say, Senator Amidala would always be there for us. I'm in support of it. And new boss, not Boss Nass, could be like, I agree, let's go.
Yeah, I think if there was one that needed to be dropped, I would prefer to drop that moment with Lee Char and keep it with the Gungans.
Okay.
If only because this fits in the Gungans' personality, right? I understand that that's supposed to be like a growth moment for Lee Char, but it doesn't feel like one. Whereas here, I don't see it as like a growth moment for anybody in particular. It feels like a running joke with the Gungans.
Okay, so it feels natural with them.
Yeah, it feels natural with them. Like this feels like something that would happen. Whereas with Lee Char, it's like a forced character growth stake.
Okay. Yep.
Right. Like maybe not like a progression, but like, hey, like this is a choice that he made and then he turned back on.
Right. We have to show him like making a tough decision.
Right.
Yep.
Where like I could easily lose that, but keep it here with the Gungans because this just feels like an actual exchange that would happen with Gungans regardless.
Cool. I'm down. You have convinced me.
Yeah, that's why I didn't see this part, this moment as an issue, but now that you do bring it up that this is the second time in an episode, like I see exactly what you're talking about.
We don't need it twice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So after a new boss agrees, we cut back to Mon Cala. We go from water to water again.
Again with a wide establishing shot that doesn't help shit. Because there's I could be mixing it up, but like there are so many wipes to group of nondescript people floating in the middle of nowhere.
There's wipes, there's irises, there's all kinds of things going on.
Like wipe from corner, wipe from right to left, wipe from left to right, wipe from top to bottom.
Yep.
And it's always like the same murky water too.
Mm-hmm.
So like that didn't help anything. I was quite frustrated there.
But at this point, we got Lee Char and company. They're essentially hiding out, right?
Yeah.
And he and Ahsoka have a little bit of conversation. I don't remember if Fisto has anything to do with it, but Ahsoka is basically like, okay, right now we wait, we hide. That's what we need to do. That's why we split up. That's why we need to do what we're doing. Then they oversee like hundreds and hundreds of Mon Cala, like big groups of Mon Cala being essentially escorted.
Yeah.
Right. All these Mon Cala are revealed to be taken prisoner.
Yep.
And it's implied that they're being taken to internment camps.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's Fisto that says that like these people are now slaves, and that if action isn't taken, then Mon Cala and Quarren alike will all be slaves of Dooku. Like that's the end game here. That's what's happening. The Separatists, you let the Separatists in, and now they're taking over your party, kicking out all your friends, and wrecking your house.
Yep.
So there's that thing, and then we cut back to Anakin. Anakin and Akbar. Anakin, like, all of a sudden, I don't know, this thing, I'm going to call Anakin's crew Plot B. Okay.
That's fine. Perfect.
And Plot B is established at this point that what needs to be done is they're going to knock out, like, the scanners of the planet.
Yeah, because they call it two different things at different times.
Okay.
So yeah, they call it the scanner at first, but then at some point, and again, this all happens so quickly that stop me if I'm skipping ahead. Somebody calls it a radar. No, it's hard to tell
because it's like cut, right?
So somebody at some point in this group does call it a radar.
Mm-hmm.
It does later get called the radar when what Anakin does to it is noticed by Tamsin.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's called a scanner at first, then a radar.
We can just talk about it in general. Like the idea that Anakin has is that there's a location that has like some scanning technology that he decides he needs to take out because the rationale here is that if this scanner is taken out, then the Quarren and Riff Tamsin, Mr. Shark Guy, won't be able to tell if an invasion is coming in.
Yeah.
Right.
And they themselves do not know if that invasion is coming in. They just want to be preemptive.
They basically want to block the ability to find out, to see it in advance. Right.
Yeah.
So Anakin does, later in the episode, he goes and breaks a couple of, like, using the Force under fire, because they're out in the middle of nothing.
Yeah, why?
No
yeah,
hiding.
They stop in open water, which I do not understand why
and
he
all of them,
right
and
there.
it's not just him.
Yeah, like Ahsoka's there, and even Ahsoka's like, well, "What are we doing?" It's like, "Oh yeah, this is where I'll need to be to take down the." Yeah, Padme, right? And then this is when I think he calls it the radar. Somebody calls it the radar at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do not understand why they're stopping in open water. Then, of course, within seconds, like a bunch of scouts spot them, start opening fire. They're completely defenseless other than shooting back, but they're just out there in open water, but somehow nobody gets shot.
And they don't shoot back. It's just them
like floating.
Yeah, they're like
doing nothing.
They're like
Yeah.
fish in a barrel at this point, but I guess with no barrel and no firing accuracy.
Yeah.
But Anakin like destroys some supports or something, and then I guess that destroys this entire building. And
then
so
we get back to Tamsin getting the news, right?
Tamsin gets an update, like the droid that's been feeding him information is like, "Sir, we lost radar." And he's like, "What do you mean we lost radar?" And he's like, "I don't know. The building's been destroyed." And Tamsin pulls a soy bibble at this point. And you know, when you've lost communication, that means only one thing: invasion. Yeah. So he's like, "Hey, get ready for invasion." And the Quarren dude's like, "Oh, we don't know that we're being invaded." And he's like, "No, fuck you. Like, that's the only reason they would take this thing out. So get your ass ready." And he leaves, and the Quarren's like, "Where are you going?" And I think he says, I'm going to find the prince, right? So at some point we do cut back to like Kit Fisto's group and whatever, and the prince is like, "Why are we just sitting here waiting? I need an army." And Ahsoka's like, "No, like, you gotta listen to what Akbar said. Like, you are hope for your people, and without you, there's no hope. It's not the army, it's you." How do you feel about this?
That is fine, but then is this the same moment when he takes that into action, and then he blows on a conch?
Well, so he does that later because this is intercut in between like the stuff that's happening with Anakin.
Yeah,
but,
this is
but
all.
Yes,
this is where it all kind of blends in. So so he gets that information. Like, that's all fine and dandy, but then like as he keeps popping out of the cave to look at the POWs being paraded. POWs on parade.
POWs on parade.
Right. And then he, for some reason, decides to blow on the conch to get their attention, to be like, "Hey, like, I'm still here and hope is alive." And then you get like the typical thing of like 3 or 4 guys like, "Hey, that's Prince Lee Char. He's still alive? Fantastic." And then like the guards are like, back, no. Like,
I think he gives a pretty good speech though. He calls out, he says, you know, to all people of Mon Cala, Mon Calamari or Quarren, you know, to all people who won't be slaves, make the choice and fight back. And I am here to lead you, I guess, is kind of what he says. But
yeah, my problem is they were in hiding, and then he like blows his cover, and then Ahsoka immediately is like, yeah, we have to go. So like he makes that speech, that's all fine and dandy, but then like there's no immediate payoff there, which is bizarre.
No, because we immediately cut to something else.
But that's what I'm saying. Like it that moment just gets cut off just a little too quickly for me to care. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like pissed at that moment right now, because I'm just like, what was it for, right? Like,
that's why I don't like how quickly everything is cut in this episode.
Right.
Because we do get a riveting speech from Prince Lichar, and then a little bit of response from some people that are going to be enslaved. Right.
Yep.
And inspired to fight against their captors.
Yeah.
And then we just cut to space. We got a good guy Star Destroyer that comes out of hyperspace.
Yep.
And then we just see a bunch of Gungans jumping out of it. So I would imagine it made planet side.
Yep.
But we get a shit ton of Gungans that dive down into the water at Jar Jar's behest, which is nice. Like, Jar Jar is actually doing something positive here.
Yeah.
You know, for this is twice in one episode that he's making a difference with a direct decision that he is making, and not just force gumping his way around and being the bumbling doofus.
I agree with
right?
that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they all dive down into the water. This is the beginning of like the end battle of the third portion of this episode, and it's Gungans versus Quarren versus droids. Right?
Yeah. And then so then a Trident ship gets introduced at some point. We first see it with the Ahsoka and Lee Char side of things, where the Trident ship comes down, and like it's the squid-looking one. Its tentacles reach out and starts twirling around, and it creates a whirlpool in the water.
Yes.
Right. So it starts kicking up all this dust, and it's like sucking people into it. Lee Char and Ahsoka are like trying to hang on, right? Then we cut over at some point. So like some action happens there. We cut over to Anakin and Padme, who then encounter their own Trident ship, which then does the exact same thing.
Yes.
And then we start cutting between the two of them.
Yes.
Which are two different Trident ships creating two different whirlpools.
Correct.
And yet our plot A, plot B groups
converge.
Do they converge?
They do converge at some point in time.
I missed that.
So I think what happens is like all the Gungans come in. Jar Jar and Anakin have an interaction, which I think is kind of funny because it's very similar to the way that Attack of the Clones kind of begins when the Jedi go up to Padme's apartment and Jar Jar opens the door and he's like, "Anakin, Misa's so smiling to seeing you, sir." Right. But this happens like underwater, and then Anakin says something back to him, and Jar Jar's like, "Nah, Misa no hearing anything. I'm underwater."
Right.
I thought that was hilarious.
It was fine. It just
I think it's funny because it's like a Jar Jar thing, because like nobody else has any problem understanding anybody and hearing anything underwater, even via like hologram, and whether or not they have a helmet on and whatever. Like, speech elsewhere is 100% clear, but then you get Jar Jar coming down and like, "Hey, it's good to see you, buddy," and Anakin's like, "Yeah, good to see you too," and he's like, I can't hear you, I'm underwater." Like,
yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
And then we do have like more fighting, and then then we've got Riff Tamsin is like, he gets an update and he's like, what's going on? This is where he's like definitively like, I'm going to get the prince.
Yeah.
He also says, I think at this point, he says he's going to send in the reinforcements. So this whole time, like, the things that, the quote-unquote reinforcements that Dooku was going to send in, which I guess he doesn't have a problem scrambling some underwater droids, but, you know, biologicals that can fucking swim need 2 or 3 days, right?
Right, yeah.
Whatever. But then we get the whirlpools. Tamsin comes out of one of those, one of the Trident class ships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's attacking, he's trying to attack the prince.
Yep.
This is where everybody converges, and at this point, they're all in the same spot.
They're in the same whirlpool?
I don't know if it's the same.
What is happening with the Trident ships?
I don't know if it's the same whirlpool, but I think the Trident ships are in the same area, and that all of our people have converged. That's the way that I read what was going on.
Yeah, no, visually speaking, that does not play at all.
Okay.
Because they kept doing, again, there are wipes that go between whirlpools. So it's really weird to me that if they are the same whirlpool, that you are wiping like across the screen between one to the other.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Right.
I guess for me, it was just the same type of situation with the different groups that I associated them being together.
Yeah.
Does like, that make sense?
I would agree with you there. It's just the fact that we see 2 Trident ships doing this twice, which also annoys me because like we know what one can do. So then to see the other one also powering up to do it again, it's like it literally happens within like 60 seconds.
For sure.
But no, I get what you're saying. What you're saying for sure. It just I did not see that play that way at all.
Well, then I have a question against what you. I have a question against your explanation. So moving forward in the plot, we've got fighting. Shark Dude is trying to attack the prince. Mm-hmm. Ahsoka is defending him and doing a pretty damn good job. She's got some awesome underwater moves. Kit Fisto joins this fight.
Yes.
I do want to say that Tamsin's like underwater roars sound fucking terrible. This is a poorly designed.
They're generic as shit.
Vocalization. It's bad.
They're super generic, like mammal roars, which is really bad. I agree with you. He does a few, and they stood out to me as well.
The first time he did it, I think I was looking down from the screen, and my note is, what the fuck was that noise?
Yeah.
And then it happens a couple more times. They're bad.
It's like a lion roar that they just gave to a shark creature for no fucking reason because they ran out of time or creative juices or something. I don't fucking know.
It's like a lion roar that was designed by a 12-year-old on a fucking Windows 95 machine.
Right, yeah. It's like somebody played with like keyboard settings and like found the sound effects, like the sound effect board and picked one.
It's not good.
Yeah. So anyway, anyways, Kit Fisto then starts to fight Tamsin, tells Ahsoka to take Lee Char out of there, and he will try and hold everybody off.
Yes. And the point I was getting to that was challenging your point of view.
Yes.
Akbar grabs Anakin and says, "This is our one shot," and they go swimming, right? And Akbar's like, hit one of the legs or whatever it is, one of the arms. So then Anakin does that, and when he does that, then no more whirlpool for anybody, which is why this leads me to believe that they have coalesced earlier in the episode, and they are all
I 100%
area.
No, this This is why I mentioned earlier in this episode that I'm going to bring up when this episode skips steps that I do not understand. Right here, this is the main one. This is the main one that pissed me off so much because we see 2 Trident ships starting to rotate. We see 1 get taken down, and then we see all whirlpools stop.
Is it possible that we see the same Trident ship doing the same thing, but from different perspectives?
If it is, then that's just even fucking dumber as shit. Like, it'd be one thing if we saw it from different perspectives happening concurrently. Mm-hmm. Why do we watch it go from a start to a spin, then 60 seconds later, 2 minutes later, watch it go from a start to a spin again?
I'm defending this because we have 2 different groups of people, and we are seeing it from 2 different perspectives. So it's like we see Group A, and this thing build up. We see what happens, and then we cut to Group B, and we see the same build up from their perspective.
Yeah, I mean, if the rest of the episode was structured in a way that was clear, but it's 100% not.
Okay.
At all. Like, I understand your attempt at that explanation. I'm going to just flatly kick it down because it doesn't read that way at all.
And that's totally cool. That's more the way that I saw things. Like, one of my notes is definitely plot A, plot B groups are together again.
Right.
Like all of our crew has coalesced.
Yeah. That's how the moment reads right at the end when Anakin cuts through the trident. There are a few more things that get skipped around that I don't understand. Let's explore this a little bit longer before I jump to one of those. But yeah, it's just weird to me that we would be seeing like Group A thing happen, Group B thing happen, Group A thing happen, Group B thing happen, and then Group A things happen, and then we jump back to Group B things happen. Does that make sense? That's why that story structure as presented would make no sense to me. Okay. But to your point, yes, we see one Trident ship getting taken down. All twirling ceases, but then we skipped more things and then see Tamsin carrying an unconscious Kit Fisto.
No, we totally don't, though. My note is no more whirlpool, but droids capture. So what happens is like the whirlpools start, but there's enough of these aqua droids that everybody's surrounded. Like, essentially at this point, there's no fighting, right? They have to. The good guys, both A and B, essentially have to surrender. The only
that part's fine with me.
The only people that got out of this are Prince Lichar and Ahsoka. So then we do cut to Kit Fisto in binders being like drug off, right? But this is just the aftermath of all of the droids having encompassed the characters in Group A and B. Okay.
That first part is fine to me. That the fighting stops because they are surrounded. That part is clear. That part is fine. It's just that we see Kit unconscious. So somewhere between hold on, I got this.
Unconscious?
I rewound it a bit, and he's definitely just being dragged.
I thought he was just kind of going along with the, like, all right.
Okay, maybe I'm incorrect there, but yeah, it is just weird that the last time we see Kit, he's like, I got this, and like I'll hold him off, and then it just cuts to him like in binders. Like,
because I bet if we would have seen Anakin or Padme, like they would have been in the same vein, like bindered and being taken somewhere else.
Okay, I will say fair enough to that one for sure. Like
I will kind of compare this to anybody that's got kids out there, and like if they're sometimes your kids don't want to fucking listen to what you want them to do, right?
Right.
And when you take them from one place to somewhere else because they want to ride the fucking slide again, or they want to stay hanging, chilling on the swing. Like, kids will do, like, the limp body thing where it's like, I understand that you're taking me back to the car, but I'm not going to cooperate either.
No. That part's fine. It's just the time in which this happens, the amount of time between cutting, whirlpool stops, and motherfucker and binders. Like, it's... I have no disagreement with the action that takes place.
Okay.
As you have explained it.
Okay.
In your analogy, it's the, like, you have said that, or your kid is in Bounce House, you deflate Bounce House, and then we cut to you in car with kid. Right? Like, I don't see you taking
on the way
kid out
in the parking lot, at least. Yes.
If that, like, you know, like, yeah, I don't see you take kid out of Bounce House. I just see you, like, unlocking car.
Yep. I cannot argue that this is not a quick cut episode.
Yeah. Like, that is my issue here. Not what happens, just it's the speed at which it happens.
Okay.
So yeah, like I said, I wanted to make a point early on that there are a lot of time jumpages, time jumping, time skippage that happens. This is one of those big moments where I got super confused between losing one trident ship and then Kit being in binders so damn fast.
Okay.
Like, right.
Sure.
Like, I'm okay with the idea that, like, our good guys realize they're surrounded and, like, my give up and, like, hands go up situation. It's just that then seeing...
Nice callback.
Yeah, it's just seeing Kit in binders being dragged, conscious or not. Just the fact that, like, somehow, while everybody else is putting their hands up, right? So, like, whirlpool stops, hands are going up, and somehow you turn around and Kit is in binders.
Okay.
Like, that is my issue here.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, there's only one other thing that happens in this episode, and it's a little talk again between Prince Lichar and Ahsoka, and I think he says something to the effect of, I need to be out there with my people, and they're all being taken captive, and Ahsoka's like, no, what you need to do right now is stick with me, and we're going to hide out, and we're going to figure it out. So think before acting, and let's just chill. And she gives him a pep talk about being scared and the difference between acting when you're scared. Like, don't let fear rule you. Right? Fear is not your sword. Which is a callback, I guess, to the fortune cookie. Right?
I guess, yeah. Yep.
I guess. And he relents and he's like, yeah, you're right. And then it shows him, like, just kind of frozen pose in the camera, and then he turns to swim off, and then we iris in, cue loud music. That's end of episode.
Yep. Yes, indeed.
So, yeah, that's the end of this one. I've got a couple of notes on voice actors for this. It is Ahmed Best for Jar Jar, which is great. It is, no pun intended, but it is the best when Ahmed Best is voicing Jar Jar, not like that random voice actor that we had like two or three times, which was weird. Yeah. But he also voices Boss Leone.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, the Boss Leone voice sounds a lot like the replacement voice actor that they had for Jar Jar in those couple of episodes.
Yeah, sort of.
Aside from that, we've got D. Bradley Baker's in this. Not as, I guess he does clones if there is any clone voices. I'm not really sure, but he does the voice of Stacey Tin, which.
Well, there was the clone troopers that's like, hey, you're gonna want to see this.
Oh yeah, that's right.
POWs on parade.
But he does the voice of Stacey Tin also, which. Kudos to DBB because he's really, I mean, you can't say anything bad about the dude. He does awesome voice work and all things that he does. Last note is that, I guess I didn't bring this up last week, but Riff Tamson, Mr. Shark Guy, is voiced by Gary Anthony Williams. Other voice acting that he has done is Bebop in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies.
Very nice.
Okay. And he also does Krag and Gore from Star Wars Resistance. So I'd say he's a Star Wars vet, but I guess this would be his beginning, and then and then in Resistance we should say he's a Star Wars vet because he did this character as well. So that's all I got for that.
Did you mention Anna Graves for Mina Tills?
I did not.
Yeah, so that's our other one. Yep.
Cool. You want to get into...
we didn't mention any of that last week, did we?
No, we didn't talk about voice acting at all last week. We just... we weren't very positive about Water War.
Well, I mean... let's just get into thumbs up, thumbs down of this episode, too. Gungan Attack. Because, I mean, I'm not positive about this episode either. Okay. Obviously. Look, in the moment...
I'm going to guess you're a thumbs down here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm not positive about this episode. In the moment, I was really trying to enjoy this episode. And this one, my complaint about last week's episode visually was that despite it being underwater, I was really hopeful that it would lend itself to having different styles visually, and it ended up just not.
Right.
In this one, there's some of that. It starts to push its way towards doing something different. Like the whirlpool thing is really cool, right? The idea of that whirlpool attack is super cool. Like,
it's something that you can't get in a space battle. It's something that you can't get in an aerial battle. It's a new idea, and maybe it wasn't.
It just wasn't implemented.
Yeah.
Like just the fact that there's like the two Trident ships and then you get Group A, Group B. Like if they were all getting if we just saw them all getting sucked into the same whirlpool, like that would be cool, right? Like that would just help me along. But yeah, it's the fact that we just keep seeing our characters like in open water. It's weird to me that Lee Char and Ahsoka are hiding in a cave, but the POWs are below them to some degree. Like, where are they going? I
will say on that front, it doesn't really seem to be a cave. Like, occasionally they seem to be, like, behind a couple of kelp plants.
Yeah, they're hiding, like, at a group of seaweed, like, in a seaweed grouping. A forest of kelp, I guess.
I wouldn't even call it a forest. It's like
a patch of, like a little patch of kelp. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree there. Yeah. But it's stuff like that like gets really confusing visually. Like they aren't staging this episode out at all in a way that makes any visual sense. Mm-hmm. And that is what's bothering me here, where even when Anakin and Padme are swimming up to the radar building, I had no sense of like where they were at all, because every time you see like a close up, there's just open water behind them, and then like the shot changes and holy shit, there's just this giant building in front of them. You know?
Yeah. I think this would kind of be akin to like if they tried to stage an episode just in like deep space.
Right.
And things would kind of be where they needed to be only by convenience.
Right.
Okay. I can totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and say that. So last week, I pissed and moaned heavily about Tamsin and the shark people.
Right.
And how much I really disliked that character and that potential species. So I'm not going to beat up this episode for his character because I've already done that.
Right.
And I'm going to say that I give this one a thumbs up because I really, really like the idea of Jar Jar saying, hey, Padme would do this shit for us. Let's do it for her. And the whole Gungan society is behind him. And they go in, and I think it was well done that, you know, aquatic species, you know, you need for help. You call the Gungans. Yeah. And they go in and they do it. And I've been on record saying before, like, the things that I like about the Clone Wars are that you do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, and the fact that Jar Jar is able to make that happen with his people to help this other society, I really, really like that.
See,
and visually, for me, it was a fun episode of the Gungans coming in and helping out the Mon Cala, and like there's some relationship building in that. Maybe it's not explicit in the episode, but it's implied, right? I can totally get your everything that you said. You know, the negatives that you have brought up, the reasons that you can't look past to be positive about this thing. I totally get that.
Yeah.
I think one big fault of this episode is that it cuts too often. Maybe if we didn't separate these two groups and we could kind of focus the story, maybe it would have been better for you. But the general premise of Gungans coming in to kind of save the day, I enjoyed. And that's why this one gets a thumbs up for me.
I like that aspect of the story. I actually do like the Gungans in this episode. It's just the story isn't enough. It's the way that it's told that's where my thumb goes hard down. You know, like that script has solid ideas. Like even the splitting of the group, I don't mind. Like it's what happens story-wise, I don't mind. It's just trying to follow it in the way they told it, the shots they chose, like you said, the edits, the way it's been edited. Like all of that is so just sloppy. It's like that's like 101 shit that they should have gotten right.
Yeah, I definitely see those comments as being valid because it's not too often that you and I view episode, like what happens in an episode so differently.
Right.
Where, you know, I saw this as like one whirlpool ship, you know, and you view it as two, and several things throughout this episode. We are literally just reading the events differently. So
like this is like a weird Rorschach test of an episode, right? Like, we've never been that far off, and just like,
you know, sometimes we have like little differences in the way that we see like the minutia
like
of things, but these are like major events in this episode, and we simply see them differently.
Like it's bad when we're interpreting actual events. Like it'd be one thing to like interpret meaning or interpret intent,
but not the like events of the episode.
Right. Like solid events of the episode that we are interpreting it differently.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to bring up. for sure. And I yeah, that like I said, I know I'm being a sourpuss about this, but yeah, like that is helping me just get more confused about what the actual hell I just saw in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I need one of these underwater episodes to be solid because I want the different setting to work. Like,
yeah,
I like the idea. I like this idea of being with the Mon Cala. I really think it's cool that Yoda enlisted the Gungans. It's that all works on paper. That all totally works on paper.
Okay, that being said,
yeah.
Do we need all these other Jedi in this big fucking Skype call and like a conference thing and Obi-Wan and like all this shit?
No, not at all. And what I didn't understand too is like, real quick to jump back, Yoda seemed to have a sense of what he was getting at. Like he knew he knew his plan before he mentioned that he was formulating a plan. And then he shows like the nearby planet map.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has the other Jedi go through the work of like narrowing down planets until Obi-Wan is like, Naboo.
Yeah, but it only takes like 5 seconds, so
still
I think Yoda's a mysterious D-bag sometimes where he's like he's old enough and he knows enough shit like
lives are on the line and he is just gonna take that 5 seconds to be like, instead of just be like, hey, we should contact Naboo, like, but what planet could we contact? One with aquatic species and aquatic species that can breathe underwater, who can talk to people underwater. Who could that be?
They can talk to people, but they can't hear people.
Right. So, for an episode that was skipping around so much, but it took like 5 seconds for that to happen, like, just, sure. Okay. Great. I'm also not going to lie. I was kind of hoping this would be the end of a 2-part arc. I like where it ended. I think the episode as a story arc, this episode from start to finish has its own arc that concludes, which is nice because we have had recent episodes that kind of just end without any sort of satisfactory build towards an end. So I will say, like, at the end of this episode, I was like, oh, okay, like a 3rd part, sure, great. But I will say I was kind of feeling like if this just ended here, I would have been content with the time we had spent between 2 episodes on Mon Cala.
Yeah, you say that
right
until there isn't a 3rd Mon Cala, right? And then, say next episode we're fucking back on Christophsis, like this whole thing started. You'd be like, well, what the fuck happened? Like, how did we go from Mon Cala to Christophsis? What happened with Princely Char? I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
If this episode skipped time so much, I can only imagine what's happening in the next one. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the next episode started after Revenge of the Sith at this rate that these 3 episodes are going. Like,
I was going to say, you had a lot to say about the skippage of time during this episode, and I think it's funny that you would think that you wouldn't have something to say if there was a big skippage of time and we just moved on from the storyline. There's something that needs to happen in the water here, and hopefully it is a pleasant conclusion for you. Maybe part 3 will be the one to tip your thumb upwards.
I have no idea what is going to happen. Like, based on this arc, other than, gathering hope and Prince Lichar hopefully making his own damn decisions instead of just changing his mind willy-nilly. I don't fucking know. Sure. But like I said, we'll get to it. Next week is Prisoners. Until then, anything else you got?
Nope, that's it, man.
All right.
Intro to the
Until
next
then,
episode. Prisoners next week.
Until then, if you want to contact us, Gmail is one way to do it. That's notthenerdspodcast@gmail.com. Twitter, Not the Nerds. Facebook, Not the Nerds Podcast. There is notthenerdspodcast.com. Is that?
It's just notthenerdс.com.
Notthenerds.com. Anywhere that you listen to us, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, leave a review. Tell us what you think. Subscribe, of course. As always, we like to thank Lindsay, strangefantasymusic@gmail.com. She put together the jingle here at the beginning and end of every episode. Also, Kevin Warren @They Call Me K-Dub on Twitter. He put together the hero pose that you see on our cover art. Until then, I've been Lorenzo Fon.
Kevin Horde here.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.